Robin, thank you for joining us. Certainly not your first rodeo. A lot of attention at Georgia, which tells me that Georgia is very important. Georgia became important, as we know when, and now it appears in this election it's going to be very important. We see her in the Peach State. We've seen the former president in the Peach State. Why are we focusing so much on Georgia?
Georgia is an anomaly. I mean, just look at our governor, Brian Kemp. He at first spoke against Donald Trump, and now he's endorsed him. But, they've exchanged barbs every so often. But I just want to point out that right now in Georgia, Stacey Abrams has also registered hundreds of thousands of voters here in Georgia and was a force to be reckoned with. But let me just point out, I looked up some numbers, Elizabeth, and you'll be interested to know that in Georgia, the Democratic Party has 26 field offices right now in the state of Georgia. Donald Trump has 12. So both parties are investing heavily, but I think my party, the Democratic Party, is really banking it all on Georgia right now and Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I saw that number about the field offices. If I'm not mistaken, she's hired at least 190 staffers in Georgia. Yep. She obviously spent much of her time in Savannah. You brought up a really interesting point about the governor. What does it tell you that, yes, they have traded barbs, but we've seen the governor in just the past 24 hours making some rounds and saying, listen, we need to be focused on winning. We need to be focused on coming together. Does that surprise you that you're seeing the support from the governor?
No, and I just want to point out that I checked, and Brian Kemp has one of the highest favorability ratings right now in all of the country for governors. He's polling at 64% favorability right now, so he's pulling in quite a bit of Democrats as well. So what he says really carries a lot of weight in this state, which is why it was a grievous misstep when Donald Trump was here rallying and launched some barbs at him, and that got heated. But I think now, they mended the fences, and I think they're, working together now to try and see if they can deliver the state for Republicans. But my party is giving them a run for their money, Elizabeth.
When we talk about just 3.5 years ago and that very infamous call, less than 12,000 votes decided Georgia. And it really is interesting. If you start to look at the minutia and the urban vote, you have the Cobb County and the Fulton County, which is very densely populated, and they typically go blue. But then you have the rural counties, and you just cannot underestimate some of these rural counties in the state of Georgia. What makes it so unique? Because I think as a candidate, you can come into certain counties, but you can't underestimate that there's a huge amount of the population that doesn't necessarily live in the city.
That's right. You're exactly right. Of course, the population nexuses are Atlanta and Savannah, Columbus, but yes, those rural areas really, that's why they're crisscrossing. These candidates are doing a bus tour, as you saw, both of them, all across crisscrossing Georgia and speaking to farmers. There's a huge farming community here in the Peach State. That's why we call it the Peach State. So it really matters. And their concerns are quite a bit different in the rural areas than maybe we have here. I'm speaking to you from DeKalb, so it's quite a bit different in DeKalb than it is in the more rural areas.
Yeah, and I remember when I was talking to different state lawmakers and what the Democrats wanted, they really wanted to focus on social issues. And I remember speaking to some of the Republican lawmakers out in rural counties, and they wanted to talk about immigration. They wanted to hear different things from different candidates. So Robin Biro, never a dull moment, especially when it comes to the Peach State. And I suspect we'll be seeing the candidates here. It is very important this coming election. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, most definitely. Thank you so much.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.